The Wood Elf campaign is focused on magical forests, and with more of them dotted all over the map and massive rewards for taking and healing them, you are highly encouraged to hard focus on them. Anything outside of magical forests is, however, basically useless to them, as they can only have tier 1 outpost settlements with limited buildings, meaning it's pretty much pointless to expand. With these forest regions, however, they can recruit their entire roster or churn out enough gold and tradable resources to make more money than basically anyone else in the game. Finding trade partners can sometimes be a challenge, however, as you can end up in a ton of wars in your quest to heal the forests of the world. Alongside all of this, the ability to teleport between all of these magical forests instantly using the deep roots allows them to be near omnipresent for pretty much the entire campaign. This does have quite a lengthy cooldown to begin with, so it can sometimes be frustrating to teleport somewhere only for your army to be needed elsewhere, with no real way to get back outside of a reload. First, let's go through the factions mechanics. First up, the world routes and magical forests. Across the map there are a number of magical forests that are mostly useless to any other faction, but to the Wood Elves are the most important regions in the game. Occupying one of these forests allows you to start healing them by raising, occupying, or being allied with nearby settlement owners. You can also heal forests by eliminating threats to the forest, which appear randomly and offer one-time battles for a quick boost to your forest's health. Once reaching full health, you can start a Ritual of Rebirth, which will cause the forest to enter a channeling state, where it must be defended until the ritual is complete. Upon completion, the forest will provide the maximum possible bonuses from forest health, as well as unlock new buildings, providing even more bonuses to your faction. Alongside this, all forests and the Oak of Ages will provide forest health to it upon their rituals completing, as well as providing you with 1 amber, which we'll come back to in the research tree. Aside from gaining health from healed forests, however, this is basically the same as all the others, so it's healed the exact same way and builds towards the exact same Ritual of Rebirth. Upon completion of its ritual, you'll unlock the Defense of the Oak quest battle, which is a victory condition for some of the playable factions. You'll also unlock Ariel, at least you will if it actually works, a legendary hero who is a very powerful spellcaster and will be an excellent addition to any army going into the late game. It also has some unique effects from increasing its size. Each level will unlock missions that, when completed, offer you confederations with basically every other Wood Elf faction in the game, meaning you can quickly consolidate all Wood Elf lands without any internal conflict. Just note that this also seems to be bugged for me, since I completed all of the missions and only about half of them actually popped, letting me confederate. But Immortal Empire's in beta. What's that? It's not in beta anymore. Oh. Anyway, you might also be wondering how to get to all these magical forests, and that's where the deep roots come in. This ancient network of routes allows you to instantly transfer lords between magical forests, no matter who owns what. They even keep their movement range, so can instantly get moving once they reach the other side. This does have a cooldown, but it quickly becomes negligible once you get a roll on restoration. Most settlements in the game outside of magical forests are pretty much useless to you, with very limited building options, so you're better off raising them most of the time to keep things easy to manage, and of course farm gold. To accommodate for this, the magical forest settlements you can build in are a tiny bit strong to keep things balanced, if you could call it that. You have tons of space to recruit the full roster, have a super tough garrison, which is more important than you think since they are just forests with no walls like other settlements, and finally you can build resource and infrastructure buildings, which will make your economy just a little bit strong, with faction-wide growth, free trader resources, and of course plenty of gold. Their other mechanic is the officers, and this is a pretty straightforward mechanic where you can place your lords into office positions that grant them unique bonuses, depending on the title. Each sub-faction has a unique set, so we'll go through these one by one with the factions section. All you really need to know is free buffs, so put the lords you're using into them to get free value. The Wood Elves also have access to the unique World Route movement stance, which is pretty much just the underways, allows them to get under mountains and travel massive distances regardless of terrain constraints. And finally, the Wood Elves can't actually use commandments, even though they can technically own every settlement in the game. That being said, 99% of them would be outposts, so it makes sense not really paying them too much attention. Next up, we have the research tree, and their tree is mainly separated into 2 main sections. The outer ring has a mix of military and infrastructure, like unit buffs, relation improvements, and income increases. The inner ring is where the amber techs live, with each one costing 1 amber to be researched. These have powerful effects that will be useful at different stages of the campaign, so are always worth picking up when you have the amber to spare. As long as they prioritize forest health, you can't really go wrong, since it just leads to one of the most powerful snowballs I've seen in a while. Now we come to the different factions. First up we have Tal'Sin, and they are led by Orion. Orion has access to the unique Wild Hunt events which occur every 5 turns with a 5-turn duration, meaning they're active pretty much half the time. These double the bonuses granted by his office, giving all lords involved huge bonuses. They also reduce the cooldown of Deep Roots traversal, allowing him to roam the map at will to get anywhere he wants in moments, as well as grant him and other armies a couple of stat buffs for its duration. He's also a bit of a warmonger, reducing the total upkeep of his and every other army in his faction per active war, meaning playing this is Total War basically gets you free armies. And lastly, as King of the Woods, he has mastery over the world routes and can move vast distances using them. As a fawn-like creature, he has a specialty for cavalry and enjoys charging alongside them just as much as he does attacking from range. range. As such, cav units in his faction get massive damage bonuses when fighting alongside their king, and as God King of the Wood Elves, he's sworn to protect Ariel, and receives assistance doing so when in the same army. For his officers, Orion's Chosen has 2 rank 3 positions and 4 at rank 1. Only 1 allows treemen, and the rest have to be filled by various elven lords. His faction starts owning the Oak of Ages and King's Glade, and he actually starts on the border of Castle Carcassonne. For his starting units, he has 1 Shielded Elemental Guard, 2 Eternal Guard, 1 unit of Deepwood Scouts, 1 unit of Shielded Wild Riders, and 2 units of regular Wild Riders, as well as a Waystalker hero. For the climate preferences, everywhere is suitable, and this is the same for all the factions. For his victory conditions, you must complete the Ritual of Rebirth in Athel-Loren, which I'm guessing means the Oak of Ages since this area is technically called Athel-Loren, even though it's not actually called anywhere in-game, as well as occupy, loot, raise or sack 30 different settlements. Taliesin have one of the hardest victory conditions by far, since the Oak of Ages needs 5 times the healing to perform the ritual, so you're going to have to put in a lot of work securing the other forest and doing their rituals to speed things along, unless you want to stay AFK for a couple hundred turns. I'd first sort out the starting war with Paravon to get some early healing ticking along and farm resources while the deep roots open up. Clear them out if you can, heading back home to fill up his army when needed, since taking on Paravon with just the starting troops would be quite a challenge. Also, make sure to prioritise growing the Oak of Ages, as it will unlock the Confederation missions, and if they work, will get you half a forest without ever having to battle for them. Some are bound to the Oak and some will just pop up as you play, so keep an eye on your missions tab for any that you can easily complete. Outside of this, head over with the best army you can and take the rest by force, before either making friends with the surrounding factions, or raising them to the ground to rush forest healing. Orion's camp is an easier early one since enemies nearby are few and fairly easy to beat with Wood Elf armies, but for the most part, they're all about as hard as each other, so use some general map knowledge to look at who you'll be fighting or making friends with to make your choice. Pretty much just rinse and repeat, clearing out invaders, getting the forest healing moving, then dip into another forest as you gain more armies and gold, then you know what to do with. Eventually the Oak will be ready, and once completed, chances are you'll probably have the raising settlements sorted, so you should be in for an easy dub. Next up we have Argulon, and they're led by Durthu. As the High Tree Master, he's got some strong effects for his underlings in the faction, with several buffs and bonuses for Ancient Treemen, regular Treemen, and other casters in his faction. His and Drankus factions also have access to the Aspects of the Forest. This allows all Tree Spirit units to be upgraded with Aspects, which are a choice of 3 buffs all at the cost of gold. These can vary from unit to unit, but Birch offers speed and damage at the cost of toughness, Willow offers a mix of defense and damage versus infantry at the cost of armor piercing, and Oak offers toughness at the cost of speed. This Forest Fintech continues into battle where he has reduced upkeep for all forest units, as well as more buffs for tree men and tree kin. And as a walking forest, his army suffers no attrition at all when following him around the map. For his officers, the Gathering of the Ancients has 4 rank 1 positions, and all must be filled with Ancient Treemen. His faction starts owning the Oak of Ages and Waterfall Palace, and starts just outside of Carricknorn. For his starting army, he has 2 units of Dryads, 2 units of Glade Guard, 1 Treeman, and 2 units of Treekin, as well as a Spellsinger of Life. For his victory conditions, he must destroy the Barrow Legion, as well as the 30 settlements. It's a bit of a weird vendetta Durthu has against poor old Heinrich, but it's what you gotta do. Since he's him, he's hardly going to move for his mountain castle, at least for a number of turns, which means we'll need to attack him with a pretty beefed up army to get through his garrison. First of all, however, we're going to get some levels and gold by clearing out Carricknorn, whilst also starting on healing the Oak of Ages, because why not? Use the resources gained to build the best army you can, and head over to Heinrich to take him on if you manage to build it beefy enough. If you're worried it's not, just work on some other forests while you print gold and growth, and then get access to the best recruitment, build an endgame army, and then take him out with ease. Once it's done, all you need to do is the settlements, so you might as well go around raising everything that's standing in the way of any forest's health. Even if you don't heal them all, you're still progressing towards more powerful buffs, whilst getting the required settlements, so what's not to love? Next up, the Heralds of Ariel, and these are led by the Sisters of Twilight. The Sisters are the favoured of Daith, and as such can employ skills to craft and upgrade unique weapons, armour and items to aid them in their campaign. There are 4 sets, so you have plenty for your lords and heroes, especially early on. Alongside items, you also have the choice of 4 blessings, which grant faction-wide bonuses for a short time. All of these cost Daith's favour, which is gained every time the Sisters win a battle. There are also, of course, some of the most skilled hunters in the faction, particularly from the air, so grant extra ammo for all units, and an ability for Hawk Riders to give them a powerful edge. The missile and flying focus continues into battle, as they pay less upkeep for anything that shoots and grants flyers massive stat boosts, making them as deadly up close as they are from a range. All of their officers only require 1 level, and the Queen's champion must be Orion or a Glade Lord, and the High and Dark Weavers must be taken by casters of those specific laws. They start in the Witchwood, but they also of course control the Oak of Ages. For their starting units, they have 2 units of Eternal Guard, 2 units of Deepwood Scouts, 2 units of Hawk Riders, and 1 Great Eagle. as well as a Spellsinger of Beasts hero. For their victory conditions, they must perform 2 rituals of rebirth, as well as the 30 settlements. Since we need to complete 2 rituals and get settlements, we can get to work right away on the Witchwood. The starting wall will allow us to clear out the Dark Elves and get a great start going with forest healing. Once that's ticking along, we can use the deep roots to jump to another forest and get that growing, and it's the same advice as before as far as which ones are the easiest to get started. Of course, try and use the Oak of Ages to confederate the other Wood Elves to make things easier, but other than that, just leap around from forest to forest getting healing as high as you can before dipping out to the next one. Of course, once you have a decent garrison to defend your investments. Once your rituals are ready, leap back to defend them to completion, do this twice, and you should be all done. And our final faction is the Wargrove of Woe, who are of course led by Dryka. Dryka is the exile of the Wood Elves, probably for being too damn sexy and making everyone else jealous. As such, she suffers from massive relations penalties and is the only Wood Elf faction that doesn't start in control of the Oak of Ages. Even lowly Wood Elves have severe disgust of her and require extra upkeep to follow her into battle, and even then have to be glamoured, reducing their stats significantly. To account for this, Forest Spirit units are much cheaper, allowing her to have a fully wooden army if you feel so inclined, especially with the improved Malevolent units. As well as this, you can explore some of the beasts and monsters of the forest as you find them. She's also the only faction to start with 1 amber, so you can use this to get ahead despite her lack of oak ownership. In battle, she further buffs Tree Spirit units, with Dryad seeing massive improvements, making them a lot more viable into the mid-game. She also spreads dread wherever she goes, making enemy lands a lot less stable just by her presence. As for her officers, all 4 of her positions are rank 1 and only accept Ancient Treemen. The faction starts in the Griffin Wood, and for her starting army, she has 5 Malevolent Dryads, 1 Malevolent Treeman, and 1 unit of Malevolent Treekin, as well as a Waystalker hero. For her victory condition, she must control all of the Athaloran magical forests, either directly or via alliances and vassals, as well as the 30 settlements. So you pretty much just need to take over everywhere in Athaloran, including the Oak of Ages, so we're going to build up the best army we can and head right over. Use the early wars to build up resources which you can funnel into recruitment buildings and new units to get the best army you possibly can. Once you have something worthy, use the deep roots to head over there and take the Oak. It's going to be a tough fight since chances are all the other Wood Elves there will have armies sat waiting for you and will turn on you the moment they see you. You need all of these regions for their victory condition, and Confederation isn't realistically going to happen, especially with the changes made in Warhammer 3. So recollect your army or send over another from Griffin Wood and work your way around, taking each settlement for your own, seizing any opportunity you can where they're left undefended, as unlikely as it may be. It's honestly going to be one of the hardest series of turns you can have as Wood Elves, and if you want to clear some other forests first to build power, I can't say I blame you. Just remember, they'll also get stronger the longer you leave it. And that's everything you need to know to play the Wood Elves in campaign, and we've got the battle guide coming soon. Like, subscribe, and if you want to know which factions have the most broken mechanics in the game, then check out this video for a list of the top 10.